episode
Off the
23 podcast, post Guild Chat show, Skiffs and Fishing was very, very awesome. It wasn't a very long podcast for a show for a start. It was 30 minutes. To be fair, these haven't been very long. I just want to add as well that the ArenaNet television thing has kind of returned.
Yeah,
You notice that? Like that's not been something. It's brilliant. I think the last time we saw it properly was during Heart of Thorns. Not gonna lie, it seemed to be very, very prominent during Heart of Thorns. Path of Fire, it was there, but it wasn't as.
I think it's because back then they wanted to do something, and they wanted to continue it for a very long time. They wanted to have like a, I don't know, bi-weekly, monthly show where they did stuff, but it kind of got mothballed, I think. Yeah.
Now that gives me a good idea that I just had.
Classy, I love it.
I will put towards to ArenaNet. That is an idea. Okay, so
you have to tell us now because we're in podcast live podcast.
I can't tell you because I don't know. I need to work it out myself. Like it's an initial idea. We have these.
The chat needs to know, Jebro. What was your idea?
I just got a email. It was from COVID-19 pre-arrival to university. Anyway. Skiffs and Fishing. So the set looks beautiful. Still love the set. They haven't changed anything about that. The actual show itself was good. It was with Ruby as well as actually, let's move through here. They showed off the trailer first, which we've already seen, which got us pretty excited about everything that was coming up anyway. And then they kind of just went straight into it. Like, what were your initial thoughts when, not speaking about any mechanics or anything specifically, but they showed us the city. They showed us in-game footage live of the actual expansion, which is pretty much the first time, other than maybe when they've been showing off some builds and like elite specializations. Like, what was it like to actually just see End of Dragons like live, like part of the game, which we're actually going to see? Because that was the first thing I was like, oh yeah,
it was kind of surreal because we've heard and we've known of End of Dragons for like 2 years now. And so finally seeing like in-game, not just trailers, but people moving around in-game, seeing hero points, seeing gathering nodes. There was even a little tooltip at the top right about an event where you had to go help the fisher and the merchants like transport their goods. So it's really just lovely seeing the effort and the developers' work come together. Even in an early stage, of course we don't know how far along these maps are, but just seeing this is quite nice.
It gives you a little rush to see it actually manifesting, right? Like we've been talking about it, thinking about it, speculating about it. To be like, oh, this is a real thing. Like people are in the game moving around. This isn't like a pre-recorded deal. This is happening live. It gives it a sense of a texture that like we can be more in touch with it than we were weeks or months ago when it was all just talks and ideas. So I think it's really cool.
I think it's really cool, and I think what it does is it gives me an idea more of what we can expect coming into End of Dragons, because of the fact that pretty much all promotional material, and including this, has been in Xingzhe Monastery area, just the beginning there. So I think we could probably expect that whatever the story that brings us to End of Dragons shoots us directly into the Xingzhe Monastery to begin with, right? Like,
yeah, that would make sense, and it'd be a nice call to factions. Like you start in this area.
Exactly. So I don't know what happens past that, but yeah, it seems very like a nice little starter zone for us.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out that Noxie had said, they said, by the way, did people notice it didn't seem to be very saturated and colorful as people were complaining about? And yeah, I mean, I think the trailers, when people create trailers, sometimes whatever they're editing, the saturation, the bloom, some of these things and the values go up. But seeing the in-game was a bit more of a truer feel. You're like, okay, there's no lights and makeup on this trailer. You get to actually see the fidelity of the maps. You get to see the scaling, the color palette, what they're going for. So
I like how I like how Ruby was like ridiculously scrolled in on her mini map just in case.
Yeah. Ruby was like, no, I'm not getting 5 today.
It looks very autumny, like autumny or spring. I guess I don't know.
Autumn, spring, and summery. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, but not like really bright, like you're saying, Noxy. It's like the pink's kind of toned down a bit, and it's pretty nice.
Do y'all think that Xingje will be like the Amnoon Oasis of this expansion?
There will definitely probably be an area of Amnoon, and we've kind of talked about this before, but I love it when expansions have a central hub that you go back to and all the players gather around. We kind of had that with Path of Fire and Amnoon, so I really hope that there is a city in Xingji where kind of all gather.
I think that's exactly what it's going to be like. I think Xingje is going to be the Amnoon of this expansion. However, I hope upon hope, because Amnoon is like kind of a hub of Path of Fire, but because we have all of our other cities so close, it's not a real hub. It has some stuff, but it doesn't have everything. So I think that's what Xingje is going to be like. But I really hope that Caning City is an actual city, or like has at least some aspects of what the other cities have.
That's true. Player housing.
something.
If they dump player housing on us, like in the weeks leading up or something,
that would be a mistake.
They're gonna explode.
It would be good, but it would be a mistake.
There are 2 missing masteries. I'm very keen to see what those 2 are.
That's true, actually. We don't have those. Okay, well, let's talk about something that's more important, and that's Nick's shirt. Yes. It's very good.
Oh,
it's
lovely.
Very good. It's probably the most important part of the whole show, in my opinion.
No water bottles.
It was no water bottles. It was the shirt this time. Amazing. Beautiful shirt. Love it. Keep it coming. I don't know what a lot of this is. I think it's just leaves and stuff. Like, it's done up. It's classy guy. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so let's fast forward here a little bit. We actually talked about, and I'm sorry that you all missed this because it's in the top left hand side, but we do have masteries, and I'll pause them and I'll also read them as well. So there is going to be masteries. Actually, they talked about this very early. Was it the masteries they talked about? Who's talking about it right now? Let me just lift this up a little bit.
Fishing mastery line that you're going to unlock.
Yeah, fishing masteries. Okay, so this is the first one. So the fact that these masteries, because they talked about this before actually showing us anything to do with fishing, and that was because I think they wanted us to understand what's actually going on in the game footage before we actually got anywhere. So in terms of these fishing masteries, I've written them all down as well.
But that was fast.
He's prepared.
I did all this during the podcast, during the show, yeah. And so there's full throttle, deep depth charges, which sounded very, very fun. The speed boost one, there's a fishing party. Yeah, they're all awesome. I didn't write the exact details of each one. But in the this is note taking, Griff. When you're done with uni, you're gonna be so good at this. It's just note taking.
Or you could just not take notes like I did.
There you go.
I'm more of a natural sponge.
That's what I did. I learned through osmosis.
I'm out.
Put my head next to the teacher, and then
I'm like Jebro. I'm also old. I took a lot of notes.
Yeah, it's good. But like more bullet points, so you can just be like, oh, I remember now. Okay. So fishing hole master was the first one. It reduces time to catch at fishing holes and triples the XP gained from fishing there. So like all of these masteries feel like quite impactful and actually useful. And I think this is one thing with masteries in Guild Wars 2 where I'm like, how good is that? And how useful is that for the thing I'm currently doing with the stuff? Through Icebreed Saga, I felt that with quite a few different masteries. I was like, that's very specific to this map. Like do you know what I mean? Like it felt very specific to that map or to this one thing I wanted to do or to opening a specific chest. Yeah. I was like,
so it's more like a gliding master or a mount mastery versus a map specific mastery.
We feel like generally these are quite helpful and useful and fun. Were they fun? Are they fun? That's a good point.
Some of them are.
Yeah? Which
like
one?
the one with the skiff where the echo or the missile thing where it disperses and sinks all the enemies.
Depth
I think that
charges.
would be that has
favorite.
kind of like a combat interaction
Block
in a way for you
is
to
Fishing Home
prevent
Master,
yourself to
and that
be
gives you
like
faster
put into
kills
combat.
and triple
But
Hmm.
other masteries, I actually don't think they needed to showcase all of them because they would. It was lovely that they did. It's definitely communication, but I think overall they showcased all the masteries, but we didn't really get a sense of them. We just kind of got the information of what they were.
I think the
Like there,
information was enough, frankly. Like I
it was
kind of know
enough,
exactly.
definitely. But
I have a feeling I know exactly what everything is now because of the masteries.
well, yeah, you know what everything is, but playing it, you don't really feel it. We don't really have any idea of how impactful these are because they all had max masteries. The
Yeah.
fishing, it was just kind of like, so this is what the minigame of fishing was, but it was useful to have that information for us to prepare and understand what type of masteries are coming. But it probably wasn't the most useful information they provided. But
I
it's
think
just
back,
good
It was
information.
all the information.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was all
back
the
to
information.
like older masteries like Heart of Thorns, where
Yeah.
we had more to do more grinding to kind of get things finished, like the original gliding masteries, for example, the low one in the butt finish. You really felt the payoff of those because you actually spent time at each level, right?
Mhm.
But think about like the Mount Masteries and Path of Fire, you blow through those. You don't really perceive the difference really because it happens over a few hours of gameplay. If this is more tilted towards like a more uh, let's say recent progression pace for masteries, I don't think people are really going to feel the progression at all. It's more tuned towards play sessions than it is grinding over time. And
Mm.
then
There was a
if
specific
that's
mastery which increased
what's that?
XP. There was a specific mastery which increased XP when you gather from fishing. So
Yeah,
I
the
hope
first
that
one.
it does feel more of like a lengthier progression system. That's kind of what I think you're alluding to.
I like that too because if it's
Mm.
quick, then a lot of these masteries are just kind of like, okay, so why why didn't fishing give that much experience and speed from the start? Why did we have to unlock this? If there's just like a,
Yeah,
it's just
I
it's kind of like
agree with you,
a
Deeg.
feeling of progression without actual progression.
Yeah, Deeg, I agree with you. A mastery that's specifically just to unlock other masteries is like, why is it even a mastery?
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is like it can encourage you to go out into the world to get mastery points, but I if I'm remembering Path of Fire, it wasn't that hard to collect what you needed. So,
No,
I,
it only really got challenging towards the end of Icebrood Saga, at least for me. I started to run out of mastery
yeah,
points, and I
I
hope that
never
the
finished
mastery
Icebrood.
system, because we don't have like a traditional leveling system where they increase the max level, we only have the mastery system as that classic leveling progress to feel like we have some goal at least when the expansion first launches to go after certain masteries. So if they kind of go by too quickly, which I think Path of Fire mounts did a little bit, it would be nice if for this expansion it allowed you to spend a bit more time with that mastery track and feel the improvements as you go.
I'm going to add something which actually almost completely negates even, maybe caring about the mastery line at all. I'm being like, I want to get through this because guess what I want to do? I want to get
What's that?
towards the punny and amazing collections that exist within each map. And like, that is just a side thing where it's going to help me do it quicker. Like, I feel like there's almost this, the mastery is cool. I think the mastery is cool and fun and interesting, but I've always been like, they're just going to get farmed out and you won't care about them later on. And you'll just be like, oh, I've got this skill on, gliders where I can stealth. And I never use it. But it's kind of fun, I guess.
Definitely seems like you're going to be fishing for the collections. You're right, Jeb.
Yeah, it's like
you're fishing for the collections, whatever that special secret bonus that you get that Ruby was hinting at is. And probably, I want to say you're going to continue fishing after that for the food that it makes. Because.
What's the food going to do, though? Raid food?
And probably it's going to be relatively expensive when you trade them in the trading post, because it did seem like it wasn't, it's not just a thing that you press F on and get your wood. This is something that you actually have to try to do, and the more
Yeah.
the more difficult things to find are probably going to be even more difficult to catch, which means that there's not going to be that many of them on the trading post. So I think,
especially at the beginning.
I think this might be a lucrative, at least at first, a lucrative profession to do.
Good Lord, there's more news on the Guild Wars 2 website.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. I just pressed that.
There's more stuff. Oh God. All right. Well,
Good.
let's do this first, so we'll talk about that after. Good Lord.
I think this also has like a much longer time commitment, fishing will, because it's an actual minigame. So depending on how many fish you get and the required amount of fish, these could be extremely expensive in terms of
It could
what
be extremely expensive. I honestly think that. So I think that they're gonna need to make. They're gonna need to make the food that the fish makes really, really good, or else as soon as people have done their fishing collections, nobody's gonna fish again.
Yeah.
Well, the collections are repeatable, right?
Are they?
I don't think they would be.
They specifically called out they're going to be repeatable collections.
Okay, all right. So that's one way to.
They mentioned the
get people
payoff.
to-
So, and there's some specific language in the screenshot of the collection that I notated. Both of them specifically called out occasions for hope, which sounds a lot. Language sounds very similar to what we've seen with like the legendary collections.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's a good way to get around the drop off if the food is on par with all the other food, because you wouldn't want to fish it for just the materials anymore, and then the materials will go down in price. You'd fish it for the collection specifically, repeatably.
Oh yeah, Masteries level 461.
I think it's this kind of thing across RPGs. You can fish up all kinds of things. It doesn't have to just be fish. They haven't told us it's going to be something other than fish, but you know,
imagine a legendary aqua breather.
What's the thing from World of Warcraft? Like it's like for Tibu's blazing longsword, right? That was the one fishing that thing.
And New
Or
World.
Ashbringer, all this speculation about that.
Do you imagine fishing up Sohathan? Or like,
I mean,
its twin
why
sword?
not? I feel like it's
know.
probably more likely sometimes that you fish up this random like. I mean, Dig, you've played New World as well, fishing, right? You can fish up a sword covered in rust. You can pick up boots. You can pick up any kind of gear that I think any kind of gear. Actually.
Right, they didn't talk about any kind of junk items you could fish up, eh?
I mean, there'll be a junk. They'll add a junk collection, I reckon, for this maybe as well.
They should.
Potentially.
At least when you're fishing and you're not in a specific node. I feel like it would feel rough if you're out of node. And
that's what I want to talk about, Kroof. That's what I want to talk about.
Junk? I love junk.
No. Because look, so they said you could you as soon as you get your fishing pole, you have a skill that shows you where the nodes are, right?
Oh yeah.
But then they said, okay, but don't worry, this node here isn't the only fishing spot. There's fishing spots all over Tyria. You can fish anywhere in Tyria.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't specify whether or not you could fish without a fishing node or not.
I think they did.
They did.
Did
at the
they?
start.
Yeah, they said that you
Could they replay it? Because I really did not hear that. They said you could fish anywhere in Tyria, but they didn't say
pupil.
They didn't say you could fish where there aren't nodes.
Yeah, they did. They said you can fish in open water, but if you're fishing on a node, you have increased chances of higher like rarity of fish.
Did they really?
That's what I remember hearing.
You want how much you want to bet?
I mean, if two people are saying it, then I have to agree with you because I mean that's masses.
Deegan and I split it.
I can't remember either boots if it helps. I was probably taking notes about the previous thing, but I would.
Okay, well,
that's good.
I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that because I was worried that it was only at nodes.
That's good.
Yeah, which could be in line with like the existing gathering systems, right?
I mean, why would you not go to a node then, I guess, other than wanting to do it in peace and quiet? And maybe if a really rare fish is outside of a node, and like the chances don't matter.
Pop on a map.
It also,
nearby.
They also might pop up in different locations.
Yeah.
So it might not be like a very consistent thing.
That I don't know about though, actually, because I don't know if you noticed when they were switching between points of views of all the characters in that party.
Yeah.
The node was in the exact same place every time.
Well, like on a daily reset or.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe a daily reset.
Draconis Mons has boiling water. We will be able to fish there. There'll be specific specific fish for that region, probably. Yeah.
That's a good point.
There's going to be specific ones. Well, they're going to be specific
fish. Who's going to be the first
fish.
person to put a skiff in the Draconis Mons water?
Or I want server first. I want like world first for fishing. I actually think
Maybe
that would
you
be
need
really
You
to
good.
are
Skip.
really invested in this
specific
fishing.
skin.
Sorry, Dig, what did you say?
Maybe you need like a special like heat-proof skiff, like a special premium skin on the.
Well, didn't they
gemstone.
say something about a special outfit that would help you
I
with
want a
fishing?
swordfish sword.
Yeah, why
Ooh,
not?
yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
But wait. Didn't
like
they
it.
say something about an outfit that would help you with fishing? I swear they said this at some point.
I didn't hear an outfit, but I did hear that you can like increase your fishing level and
I want a
like
fishing outfit.
have improvements.
Yeah, fishing power, a new
fishing
stat.
power. Yeah.
Where are we gonna get this stat from? Is this gonna appear on gear on amulets?
This is
Is
the
it
thing,
gonna be
this
on
is
your
what I think.
list of stats with magic
Give
finds?
me
Oh,
a
boy.
fishing outfit that I add stats to and I have to craft, like in flipping Final Fantasy 14. That idea of having specific gear like to craft is
I like that.
awesome.
Or
Amazing.
there's different baits and like lines.
Does that mean Celestial Armor is gonna be? They're gonna add fishing power to
Yes!
it.
Yes!
I mean, why
Oh, dear.
not, everyone? Old school diving suit
Best
to
in
fish.
slot, guys. Best in slot.
See, I reckon at the beginning, like you should start like without a fishing rod, and you should just be throwing like a spear or like just like hanging over the water and just like randomly like picking up fish.
You have to go to the Omicron and grab a spear gun and just like
Yeah, and just like, and that's how you like level up different levels of fish. I mean, let's talk about the actual mechanic and the actual gameplay of fishing as well, because I feel this is very interesting because I'm not sure there's definitely different ways of doing it. I think this is a different way. Like, definitely there's two bars. Wait a minute, let me see if I've just gone past this.
also the inventory management of this. There will definitely be dedicated characters to fishing.
I'm screwed.
True.
I'm
All
actually
the
screwed.
amount of bait that you have to get.
Here we go. Oh no, that was skiffs. Wait a minute, we saw fishing first. I think I skipped through this. There we go.
Oh, there's so much.
Let's talk about the fishing
I can't
first.
wait to talk about.
But right. So there's lure. Oh damn it! I missed the thingy majig. I want the tooltip for the lure. So they've got lure, bait, and what else was there? I think that was it.
Yeah, the rod doesn't seem to be an item. It seems to be just an ability, right? So
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a novelty thing.
And that's below the weapon swap. So below the weapon swap, we now get the skiffs and fishing. That's a specific thing. That's interesting that they've
more
added it
keys
there.
to bind.
Yeah. If you want to do that, that's true. Because they only just have added the button above the weapon swap anyway, which I only just noticed the other day when we were playing the flipping. When we were playing the LightBringers plays the new players experience. I'm like, what is this button? I'm like, when did that arrive anyway? But that's quite cool. It's there and it's not going to be mixed over with everything else. I still think it's a very tiny area to put something like that, but like,
Yeah.
new players into the game, they're going to need some instruction. Okay,
Kinda
anyway.
just toss that into the novelties like tab. It kind of just functions like a novelty.
I mean, I guess it's not a novelty though, is
Yeah.
it?
But that means you could have like novelty skins for different fishing rods looks.
Yeah, that's true. You can have different things. I think they
would
definitely
put-
are. They going to have fishing rods?
Hold on.
Anyway,
We have
Guild-
fishing rods in the gem store.
They could. I'm saying
Oh,
like
skins,
There's no
yeah,
component
maybe.
to fishing rod. I didn't really notice.
No, it wasn't nothing
No.
special.
but if they put it into the novelty, I'm only thinking of like the sales aspect. Like they could make different fishing.
You get a
full skins
glowy
on
one,
them.
right? You
Of
get
course,
a glowy,
yeah.
a legendary fishing rod. Orion's legendary fishing
Actually,
rod.
that's a good point. I think that's where we
That's
get
right.
that's where we get the fishing power from. The fishing rod.
Probably.
That would make
No, we get it
sense.
from the lore as well. Look,
Oh yeah, the
They
lure.
It's
didn't
on my
show
screen
the
right
paper
now.
doll at all, did they? In this?
It's on
Like
my
there was
screen.
like an extra slot in the paper doll for a fishing rod. They
they
did say that it would not have durability. I guess it does imply it's an item. So
Yeah.
Maybe.
No,
Maybe
no
that's-
durability. Yeah. It's an actual. It's like an armor piece, I guess, or a weapon specifically. It looks like. But like here it says Jade Fishing Lure plus 50 fishing power, used in conjunction with fishing rod and bait to catch the fish. So there is like actual stats added to lures and different bait. So I think they're gonna have different lures and bait for different areas, maybe depending on
regions,
what the
yeah.
region is. So
And fishing
Maybe-
power might not be the only thing. Like with other crafting, like glyphs that you can put on certain things, it's like speed, it's like efficiency, capacity. Like there's a whole bunch of things they could like add to this.
Yeah, look, there you go. A type of bait for fish eggs, a type of bait that can be used in conjunction with a fishing rod and lures to catch fish, plus 50 power. So you've already added 100 power with the lure and the bait right there. And it looks like they're blue. So I'm wondering if you're going to have different power. So like green, blue, you know, I'm wondering if there's going to be like exotic, basic, etc. And then you might have even like a legendary lure or something. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
End game gear treadmill that we were all waiting for.
I want a strike boss that you have to fish out of the water.
Actually, kind of interesting. Oh, look, there you
With
go.
a special lure.
Night crawlers as well. That's another type of bait they've got. That's 25 power. Okay, so there are lesser ones, but it's the same color. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be interesting. A strike boss fishing thing. Well, interestingly enough, like there are two different Eastern MMOs I played recently, and Kriv, you may have hit this in on Bless Unleashed. There was a fishing event which you can do if you go to a specific area and you're running through as a new player, and also in Elion, which is another Eastern MMO built game, whatever. And they both, like that one actually has a fishing event which pops up and it ports you into this area and you start fishing. But the thing is, there's a leaderboard for like who like the amount of people who've caught fish is the same in the Bless Unleashed as well. And it's really involved. Like you really want to win because you can get decent like reward gears and gold. And it's like, whoa, I want to do this. I want fishing competitions.
There better be some fishing adventures in End of Dragons.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, someone's gonna do it. Someone's gonna do it. I want to do it. I want to do a fishing tournament. I want to do the first fishing tournament. Let's do it.
The adventures introduced in Heart of Thorns, like that's the best way to do a leaderboard system for people to be competing to like the fastest time.
They could do an adventure.
Yeah, as I said.
Did you say adventure?
Cool
I thought you
like
said sorry. My bad.
Or how about a guild mission?
Oh, a guild mission for
can't even get into the
fishing.
guild
Guild
stuff.
halls. They
We'd
did
be
say
here for
guild halls
5
for the fishing
hours.
hotspots, right?
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Do you reckon they'd do that, Deke?
No.
Would they do it?
Oh, that's the tough question.
Whenever
I
it
want
comes to
fishing
guild
I think
guilds.
it's likely. I do want it
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. I want so much more guild content, but probably not.
It is
I want
upsetting.
fishing guilds, guys.
Fishing guilds.
Pure
I'm
fishing
probably going to
guilds.
be a fishing guild. There will definitely be fishing guilds. There will 100% be fishing guilds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the mini game itself of
Yeah.
fishing. Is this a fun? I like the two different bars. The footage is on screen as well. Will be coming up very shortly. And if you're listening to this, try my best to explain this. But the VOD will be available. You'll be able to access your fishing rod in the bottom left-hand corner below the weapon swap key, and then you kind of cast your line. But when you cast it, you actually have a little target reticle that you might have for like any AoE that you cast in the game. So you have the reticle, right, and you put it in the water wherever you want. But like you should, on screen right now, we've got the main fishing area. What's it called? Just a fishing hole, I guess. And you press 1, which is this little cast line target, and then you just throw it out there, and that's your line out, right? Wait, there is this angular sense ability. Detects fishing nodes and temporarily marks their location on the compass. Okay, so that's what you do essentially
It's like a
first.
mastery.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. And then you cast your line out. But this game, like, you've got, what do they call this bar at the bottom?
So-
No, actually.
So hang on, does that mean that you can only detect fishing holes when you have a fishing rod out?
Probably. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that
Okay.
would make sense.
Okay. Think about that.
So you have to be really focused. If you want to fish,
But
like,
hold on a second though, because I don't know if it was a dev option or what, but when they were on the skiff, one of them saw a fishing hole off the side of the skiff, and I don't think they pressed a button for it. It's possible that when they pressed the button, it like detected it 4,000 away or something.
right, okay.
Yeah.
I think I remember them saying that specific ability, the angler sense, is available on the skiff skill bar.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah, Scott says something in chat as well.
Yeah.
They
So
say
you
that
have
can
either
detect
fishing
from
rod
boats,
or
yeah.
skiff then.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. What you're
Gotta
saying,
be
Boots.
singing.
Yeah. Like the
You gotta have that
further
fish
away.
sense.
Fish sense. My fish sense is tingling.
My fish
Oh, God.
senses are tingling.
So they've got all of these different icons as well they're still working on. So obviously it's not going to be like a little green sign with the man doing the little person doing the fish.
Fishing, I think of shoveling.
It is, yeah, it's work. Like that's the notes.
I like the animation when they catch the fish. That's classy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. Like the
But this mini
bobbles.
game, I'm so happy that we actually have an interactive mini game as a
Yes.
mastery system because
What is it that you like about the mini games, like rather than a specific just you fish and you press one button maybe on the just the fish to pick out? Because yeah, Elder Scrolls Online, I like to make a lot of comparisons between these games because they're very very close in a lot of respects. Isn't that great compared to this? I feel.
I never feel excited when I press F on a tree or a mine or an ore. I think in this circumstance, I hope that I will feel much more engaged and excited to actively like
It's interesting.
go through fishing. And
Proof you're right. I too never feel excited when I have a tree.
I know it's a novel concept. Not many people can empathize with it, but I was brave enough to come and say it. But in the case of fishing, I do think that this being the third expansion, it's 2021, also just like for longevity's sake, having something where you actually have to be engaged in the content, no matter how small it is, such as fishing.
Yeah.
It's a nice little update to keep me like interested in playing and focused in on the game.
Yeah, effing trees, effing rocks, effing bushes. I just never get excited.
Oh, Kriv just got it. I was waiting for that.
No fish effing.
No fish effing.
Okay, no, I got it.
Thank you, Kriv. Took you a while. You were very focused on your words.
I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. It's okay. This is not clean.
Okay.
I can't mark
I
this as
actually
clean.
really wondered coming into this if there was going to be a mini game or if it was just going to be a press F.
Exactly.
I kind of had a sense that it was just going to be a press F, and I was a little surprised to see how much was going to go into catching these fish.
It's true. You're right. No, like, yeah, if it was just effing a fish, then forget it, you know? Like, I'm happy that it is a mini game. Me too.
So with this, you can draw, so you can pull the line, and obviously like to get the fish, and then you've got these. So that's the one ability which changes, and then 2 and 3 are these arrows to manage this bar here. So what you got to do is you've got to keep the green inside the yellow. So is the yellow is what you control, right? Which is what they're saying. Yeah, and then the bonus bar goes up the longer the green is in the yellow safe area. There you go. So the bonus. So you can pull it. It looks like you can pull out the fish whenever you want, really. But like you're kind of, you can see the animation of the other characters as well. They're going left and right kind of thing, because that's what that is. They're pulling to the left, they're pulling to the right. But rather than seeing the visual, which is very much a Sea of Thieves thing, is when you catch a fish in Sea of Thieves, you throw out the line, and the fish pops up, and then you've got to go against the way that the fish is going. So the fish is going to the right on your screen, you pull to the left, and if it's going right, you pull left, and like if it's going away, you pull back. It's very much like that, but it's on a bar, and it's just the left and the right rather than the front, forward, and backwards.
So this is a little bit like, not exactly, but a little bit like Stardew Valley in the way it works.
Trying to remember that.
So you catch the fish when the bar is full. Like you can't pull it out beforehand. You catch the fish when the bar is full, and you have to fill the bar by having your little reticule over where the fish is the entire time.
Isn't that bar below though a bonus bar? That's what they called it.
That is when that thing is full, she caught the fish.
But the one key, I thought the one key was a key to pull a fish as well.
I think it's to stop trying.
I don't know if that
Sure. I was under the impression that you would have to fill the bar to complete the catch.
Well,
yeah,
that's pretty much the.
I need to listen to this. I want to find it. I want to know this now.
There's other crafting.
Just
things.
5
The one
seconds early, you
skill
can see.
on cast.
Okay. I thought it called it specifically a bonus bar, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
Yeah, I heard that too, and that does suggest that that's not the core mechanic. It's like a layer.
Yeah, I think it's a layer on top. I don't know.
But you think that if you don't if you don't want good fish, if you just want fish for cooking, you could just go whack 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 whack.
Probably.
Yeah, because
bang
it
'em out.
will be players who don't want that level of difficulty because of knowing ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2 and just how they don't necessarily want the game to be difficult for many people and they want them to try other things. I feel like people are going to be able to go in and maybe get the bonus bar. I feel like they're going to flesh that bar out. I feel that bar could be fleshed out. If it's what I think it is, it could be like you say, what type of fish you get, maybe at different levels or, effort or something like that. Some kind of thing where they're like, because otherwise you got to spend quite a long time doing
But, I mean, that's
minigame.
why,
I don't know.
because I thought that's what it was. That's why I said that because of the effort you actually have to put into getting fish as opposed to any other gathering material, the food you make from it has to be pretty good. Or I guess in this case, the repeatable collections have to be worth it.
Well, it'll still probably take some time to get those like better fish. Also, you have to go to those locations for better fish. And I can't imagine they'd have a system where you can just spam the fishing to get a bunch of fish or a bunch of junk, because ultimately you could probably sell it, and that would probably be an inflation issue. You
That'd
probably would
just
still
be
have to
crap.
play the
Botting
mini
issue.
game.
It
You
wouldn't
probably
be
have
anything.
to,
Yeah.
and a botting as well, but you'll probably have to play the mini game at least a little bit, progress the bar a little bit to have like a more consistent catch.
Yeah, I think the minigame thing actually, botting is always something you got to think about when you put a fishing system in a game like this.
Yeah.
Because maybe the minigame is one of the reasons it exists is to respond to that. But I had a funny thought about the minigame too just a second ago, and wouldn't it be cool if the way that the cursor that you're chasing had like different movement patterns depending on the kind of fish or the kind of area you were in,
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think it will.
so it actually like kind of felt different. I
Yeah,
think that would be very cool.
I agree.
Interesting.
Like Stardew Valley in that way. Yeah.
Is that
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. I hope so. I mean, I'm wondering if you can fish in raids and stuff now. I'm like fractals and everything else. I'm wondering, like, is there any pools of water anywhere in the raids and stuff where you might be like, this is an area to fish
know
for
what?
raids, and you could sell raids to fish. I don't know.
Raid
Yeah,
Wing
and,
3, the White Mantle. There's that area. You can get
There's a
some
whole-
like bloodstone crazed fish. Like that would be awesome.
Ah, right. Okay, so that's cool. Oh, no. World v World, for example. There's a lot of water in different areas in World v World. Imagine just seeing some
You got to
guy
turn it off for
fish.
World, right? You got to
Yeah.
turn that off altogether.
That would be interesting. That's going to happen. And that could be that. I reckon, like, if you're going to fish in World v World, like, that's risky, right? Like, the fish, like, if you're fishing in the EB, for example, they could put, like, a fishing area. I mean, there is some water there, but, like, maybe more, like, kind of 2-3 areas, like some smaller, like, bodies of water, and it'd be really risky. And it's like, can you imagine that? Fighting over fishing holes? That actually could be quite interesting. That could add a little
If
nice
they add
little
fishing
thing.
like collections and reasons in World versus World, that even puts more people into the game mode of World versus
Exactly.
World. You have to like that's how you get armored fish, and you collect their scales, and then it's just people fighting over
Yeah.
like fishing nodes.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
better, what if we off of Revenge of the Capricorn? Well, it used to be Revenge. Yeah. Anyway,
In structured
Aw.
PvP.
structured PvP.
Oh god. I think that should just be an instance where you have 5v5 fishing matches. I actually genuinely think that would be fun, and you'd actually probably
As, like,
get
an
more people in there.
That would be so much fun.
I think people would play it for fun.
You know what would be
for sure.
cool is if you can get a fishing power buff from having someone playing like a musical instrument in your party.
Yeah,
Oh.
that
Put
would be
some
cool.
bard aspect into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a bard. Bad.
That's the elementalist's new profession mechanic.
I'm.
It's a stat buff that gives you a 15% increase.
Let's go to Skiffs. Sorry. So
Onward to
genuinely, so we enjoy the fishing. Looks like pretty cool. We'll talk about fishing as we keep going because it's very relevant to Skiffs as well. They're very much intermingled as well. There was these different fishing collections which were quite cool. Just kind of going off some of the footage. Nick's shirt again, really great. And also skiffs. Okay, so they showed us that you could spawn skiffs both from the land and from the water as well, which is cool. If you want to kind of just spawn one out in the open world and you've just been dropped into water and you want some nice way of getting around. It's not a route though. It's you can control it and put the boat wherever you want. I think that was my fear originally. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if Crew 4D but you had these same similar feelings.
I remember you talking
Yeah,
about
'cause
that multiple times.
If it's spawned like a mountain, would have been awkward. Here's a question for y'all though: is that little bit of technology that they're showing off with placing the bobber and placing the boat, is that new?
I don't think it is. I think they're pulling from the decoration system and
Yeah.
Guildhalls,
Mm,
placing
okay.
things, which I love to see. I like that it's actually something that's placeable and you can actually maneuver the angle, and it's not like get in the water and it spawns. It
Yeah,
feels a little bit more true.
This
to the
is
world.
it. Yeah, this is it. But I'm not sure because I haven't played something in a Guildhall for ages. I think maybe those arrows dig might be new. Like the look of that is new. Maybe I don't know how. Is this? I mean, I know Really Geek in chat does a lot with. It's not new. It's the same. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they do
Right.
decoration
That is very.
vibes.
Okay, Crew Fair. All right.
That's a good call.
It looks cool, and this was the specific thing that we all mentioned, I think, while during it is like, and when you ever see a boat in an MMORPG, not many people can do this very well. Like they're just literally stood still. There's no sense of the boat moving, and I think actually right next to the skiff, there's a boat that's not moving. There is a boat right there. This is actually hilarious. Look at the boat there. It's not moving. I know it's the stationary and stuff, but this is because it's tied up, obviously. But it's just funny. It's so good.
Having that little buoyancy would be a lovely touch for all the boats.
In every game, in every MMORPG. But like when that was there, I was like, yes.
Like a sigh of relief. I was right there with you, Joe.
Yeah.
Like, thank God this doesn't feel like other MMO boats.
Look at the jiggle. Oh damn! No, they put the still shot. We don't care about the
jiggle physics.
the word
we
for it.
MMOs.
It's the jiggle.
I think I'd like to do my best to try to see what I could get away with it. Like, go to different maps where there's just like puddles in the maps and see,
my God.
just to see where you could put your boat down. Like to really see where, because my understanding is that in a lot of maps, the water is a plane, right?
Yeah.
And like it's the same level everywhere. So if it's built that way everywhere, it'd be fun to see where you could put a skiff and where you could fish and where you could do all that kind of stuff.
I imagine it's been coded to where you would have to be able to actually swim under the water to place it. But there are some interesting areas in Heart of Thorns, particularly in the Muguma jungle, where there is like a river.
Yeah.
You can go underwater and be swimming underneath it, but you're still standing. So like there could be a couple buggy areas.
Yeah, no doubt.
I wonder how many people are just gonna have skiffs in the water after they've broken out of maps. Just have like a ton of skiffs in different maps.
One thing you need to talk about very quickly is some of these masteries as well. So Full Throttle was the first one. Learn how to push your skiff to a new top speed. There was depth charges. This was the one Crew said they enjoyed. I think we're all going to enjoy this. Learn a skill that sinks swimming enemies close to your skiff. So it sounds like you can be broken out of a skiff as well, which is interesting, like mounts.
Is sink a euphemism for kill, or does it mean something different?
Sink. So CC in Guild Wars 2, there's float, sink. Sink is one of the CCs, the actual CCs in water, right? So I think it's a CC specifically rather than a complete kill. Maybe AoE as well around the skiff. So it just, because I think they're very aware that they can design camphor in a way where there aren't going to be many mobs attracted to your boat, but if they do it for the entire game and past expansions, like hooking onto players and stuff, that maybe there's going to be some kind of issue, and maybe they've designed a mastery which just completely obliterates that. I mean, I don't know. I would assume
I would love
maybe
to see enemies in End of Dragon start attacking the boat and make the waters a bit more treacherous. Get that underwater combat going.
Yeah, oh, jeez. Oh god. Right. Get some cannons. Get the turtle mount on top of the skiff, and then let's go. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it's a platform.
On top of it?
It's a platform,
They
right?
showed someone doing that on the stream.
Raptor.
Someone was on a raptor, right?
Oh, were
But you
they?
can have a skiff
Oh.
on top of a sea turtle on top of a skiff with two people on the sea turtle.
And you can fire
Turtles
at
all the
things
way
from
down.
the land, just like farm. You know, there's going to be people doing that, right? There's going to be people farming mobs on skiffs off the land. There's going to be some epic new farm spots. Oh
Siege
god.
Skiff.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Siege Skiff.
Let's go.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Depth charges. I mean, that just brings up loads of stuff. What was the other one? Speed boost. Learn how to give your skiff a short burst of speed. Nothing ridiculous there. And then there was fishing party. So while on your skiff, you and your party receive an amount of fishing power equal to the total number of catches from fishing nodes. Max stacks 99. So it looks like when you start fishing, you get a catch, and that's registered on that skiff, maybe because you're on the skiff, and you have to get 99 catches to get the stack.
I think it's a party-wide buff.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
For all the people who are on that skiff, right?
20 per
Play.
person if you're full.
It incentivizes people to make friends or, party up with strangers and go out
Yeah.
I like
fishing.
that. I like
So
that.
honestly, from this whole stream, nothing really surprised me.
You're going way to the end. You're going to the end. We're like
I
halfway
just
through.
want to say that I think a lot of it's very cute though. I think like it seems to be all about like, hanging out with friends, doing some relaxing things, and just enjoying your time, and not like, definitely this is not gonna scratch the itch of a bunch of people who don't want to
Power
fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for some people, this is just going to be a nice thing to do, It's very cute. Also, is the emotes to gain the boost of the skiff.
Yeah, that was cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, you say it'll be relaxing, but jump cut like 8 months from now, Jebro popping a blood vessel trying to get this one fish and get to the top of the leaderboards.
I've got significantly less hair than I have now. If you're not sure if that's possible.
Instead of the hair receding, it's now just your epidermis.
Yeah,
It's just slowly retracting.
Yeah. Jesus.
What do you guys think about the speed of the skiff?
Yeah.
Oh, I think
I
it
actually was
seems
commenting.
okay.
I was commenting a few weeks ago that the thing that would bum me out is if what you saw on the water in Xing and in Xing around the new expansion would be lots of skimmers because it's still faster than a skiff.
Yeah.
It's probably better for the long-term health of the game for the skimmer to retain a niche, although it does have the underwater dive, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I
They're
think
just-
this just seems really nice. It's kind of leisurely because you can transport so many people. I don't think they'd want to go faster than the skimmer, just in case
Mhm.
people don't have Path of Fire. It still at least incentivizes. If you're really going for water and you
Yeah.
want to have that water movement, Path of Fire still would be nice to get. But I think it
This
seems
isn't a
on par
travel
with the
thing.
skimmer
Yeah.
at max speed.
Yeah.
So
It
Just seems like, in a way, since you can summon the skiff while you're in water, why would you necessarily? I mean, I guess you could just so that 4 people could AFK, but why would you necessarily, all painstakingly get into the skiff and go
I know.
when you could just skimmer somewhere and then mount up afterwards?
Fishing party buff. If you take your skiff down, you might lose that buff.
I don't think they're gonna do that.
I think they will.
What if you accidentally take the skimmer down?
The skiff
The
down.
skiff
Maybe
down.
you've got a certain amount of time until you like get it back up. Because you can't just have it permanently, can you? You've got to run out at some point.
the effect itself will probably be on a timer, probably like a minute or two timer.
Yeah, but it'll be on the characters in the party, not on the skiff.
Yeah.
But it's a skiff-specific mastery, though.
Which incentivizes you to use this skiff.
You can't
over
use
a
in the other
skimmer.
master. Like there are masteries for specific things, but like so. I mean, it's
Yeah, that's
it's
why
more of a
you summon
question.
the skiff when you're fishing, but then you can take it down in skimmer places if you want to.
Probably the buff emanates from the owner of the skiff who has the mastery or doesn't, right? And then it's just time buff on another player.
That's true. Do you all need to have the mastery to get the stacks? It's just saying
That's a
it's
good
just
question.
one person then.
Yeah.
I think
But I
there are
feel like
still some
if you
questions.
have a skiff up, it would be so much work to then get off of it, skimmer up, and then find a land location to actually summon the skiff. So you would just probably, once you're on a skiff, I feel like you're just going to be on it. It's not a mount, so you're not going to be using it to traverse really quickly. It's just if you are going fishing, you want to use that.
It's a purpose. There's a purpose. Yeah, it's a very purposeful thing. It's a specific thing where it's like, let's go fishing, buddies, and do the things and have
But
some
the other
fun.
issue is that a skimmer can traverse land and sea. So if you're doing something down a riverbed, for example, and and you're trying to get to a specific hole 4,000 away that's down a river, you might just not use the skiff at all until you get there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you don't have to use the skiff at all. It's mostly just like for min-maxing if you really want to. But I feel like
Yeah.
there are certain areas in Tyria where the body of water isn't as great. So you'll just probably like get your friends and go down the river or something. But I
Yeah.
hope to see larger ocean maps. Like there's a whole unending ocean. It would be awesome to have like one specific map where it's like 80% water with like some islands and a little bit of
Go back
content,
to
but
the
mostly fishing.
go back to the Straits of Devastation.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how many people are around, because when you plant your boat and you anchor it, you have so this is another thing, the collision, right? So and how many skiffs you're gonna have around one hole, and what that's gonna look like is gonna be very, very interesting. I'm interested to see, and I'm excited to see day one fishers like going out and like all just being gathered around a fishing hole, and like just the collision, and then just all of these boats just around.
Well, they were very clever in the way they did it, right? Like they did it so that if you are not in a party with someone, you don't collide with their ship when they're anchored.
Yeah.
So the max you could have is 5 boats that have collision in the same area, essentially. And so you're not going to be interacting necessarily with other people who are fishing, but it will be interesting to see just a bunch of skiffs stacked onto each other, all fishing the same thing, and then not exactly knowing which skiff is your skiff, and you might accidentally try to go onto somebody else's skiff and fall out.
This is exactly what I'm wondering what's going to be like. It's
Fading skiffs. Like you make a little bridge, and someone outside your party like puts one more on there. It's like a little bit of a
launch week
Roadrunner
of
moment.
End of Dragons. The waters are going to be full.
Yeah,
I think that's exciting.
It's exciting. It's going to be like day one launch things, isn't it? Where you see a lot more happen than will ever happen again in the game. Those long queues at NPCs that you saw at Clean Classic don't happen anymore. Oh, those fun events though, Kev. Okay, well, I'm liking so far the stuff with fishing and skiffs. This is exciting, and it's good to see that they have got, and I like this, just being able to kind of hang out on a boat as well, and just dancing and just hanging out with your buds, like guilds and stuff, like get another party of guild peeps.
Put some fire.
I was really worried that it was going to be, if you wanted to be on the skiff, you were like locked into like one seat, like in a mount position, and that was the only way you're going to be able to be on it. I'm super relieved when they're like, nope, turn on collision, everyone in your party just crawls around it like normal. That feels great.
So
I'm excited to see what kind of shenanigans people get up to with regard to boat-on-boat collisions too.
Yeah.
Like if you notice, the different boat skins had different collision meshes. It looked like.
Yeah.
So
yeah, one was starting to ride up on the other one a little bit. So that's only if you're in the party. So it's not going to be like widespread griefing, but still, it is pretty interesting. I actually am interested in being okay. So we have 3 masteries we know about right now, right? We got the fishing, we got the skiffs, and we got the turtle. I have a feeling that the technology that they're demonstrating in the skiff and what I'm guessing is going to come with the turtle, in that you get to mount the turtle with a friend, and the one person they were talking about has the ability to use weapons on the turtle, and the other person steers. Right. I have a feeling that they're going to be able to combine the two and possibly have a 4th mastery that is larger ships with weapons.
Like galleons or something.
I can see it with this expansion. I think that's another expansion feature.
You think?
Yeah. I think
because there's 2 masteries we don't know about.
There are 2 masteries we don't know about, but I don't think they have anything to do with mounts.
Okay.
I think having 2 already, having 2 very interesting 5-player mount and a 2-player mount, I think that already kind of rounds it out, at least for now. But for another expansion, I could definitely see them doing something grander, elevating and leveling themselves up by having a larger ship.
Because there is a reason why they specify that these are called skiffs, right? Not boats or ships.
Yeah, skiff is a specific oil, yeah.
But I do agree that they will probably expand on these systems of having multi person mounts, more than 5, even 10 or 15.
Or squad.
A whole squad. That would be like a lovely Corsair pirate expansion.
Ship on
Pirate
ship
raid.
warfare.
Yeah.
They do it in Arcade. Arcade was massive for ship on ship warfare. Like you had to building a boat was like one of the things. So Arcade could have been like one of the best MMORPGs the world has ever seen. Unfortunately, they wrecked it with pay to win. But you can, which is what they normally do, and like the game, like basically you could build a boat and you could set it up in like you could almost build like it wasn't a harbor, but like a structure around it to construct it, and it was a real effort. Like you had to carry packs of bricks, packs of wood, and you had to get loads of people together to build this thing that was epic. And then there was so much sea, and the game was very open world that you can, and very sandboxy. You could go anywhere in the map without instance. It wasn't instanced. So you would travel from island to island on boats, and there were pirates. There were MMORPG. There were groups of pirates that could be against all the factions. And then you would have different kinds of classes of boats, which would have different weapons. You could board boats. You had gliders as well, so you could fly from boat to boat. And the combat in the whole thing was just added this whole level to the gameplay that was just phenomenal. It was, I don't know if anyone in chat ever played Arcade, like sea stuff, but like it was so good. I remember going in small boat ship battles, and you would see people gliding off the tops from like boat to boat, and then just using their MMO abilities, like the normal abilities, and just fighting, on these ships. And it's just like, man, it's totally doable.
I for one welcome the return of a pirate ship meta for World versus World.
I remember that.
There it is.
It was. Oh, sorry to reminisce there randomly, but it was.
I'm watching a video of this,
so
Deborah, while you're talking about it. The thing about Guild Wars 2 that I have a hard time envisioning is the PvP aspect of it. PvP is always in these very narrow parts of the world or the like conquest, but maybe like a PvE type an event or something like that, where you're tasked with using a boat to complete an objective.
Oh,
They
yeah,
were
totally.
originally
I love the idea.
going to do open world PvP in Path of Fire, but last minute the arena was scrapped. So it's not something that is unheard of, or we definitely know that the developers were playing around with PvE combat and like PvE open world PvP.
Right. Like we have it at the end of the Drakar event chain, if you fail it. And we do have the existing Kurzik and Luxian faction conflict historically in this region, so maybe there's a tie-in there.
There's an homage back to the conflict, and you have to pick a side.
Oh yeah. Good times.
You could join the Civil War Reenactors Guild in Cantha.
Very much so.
Throwing tomatoes at each other and stuff.
I'm just watching having the footage in the background, and I'm like, damn, I really want this now. Thank you, Boots. I'm just welcome. Damn it. I just completely forgot how fun this was in Arcade.
Like, obviously they're going to avoid this because I don't think they're going to let you move around on a ship while in battle, essentially.
I mean, this is what it would be if this is what it would be if it was going to be the Apex, the awesome Apex, like just how epic it could be. But I feel like you're right. It would be more of like you get on a cannon. I mean, this is really going out there. I'm just like, this is
a World versus World border map.
It could be, yeah.
That's I mean, we're missing one, so maybe.
True. Imagine that. I
mean, that's true. We have the 2 Alpine Borderlands, and we have the Desert Borderlands. And as it stands, not that many people go in the Desert Borderlands for various reasons.
Sad.
They could just make a 3rd Borderlands that not many people go into, but some people do just for fun sometimes.
Right.
Like the Mists, Edge of the Mists, I guess. Could be the Edge of the Mists, but something else. To rotate, maybe. Might be a lot of work just for a very small amount of people, but I think it would be fun. Yeah, there's just loads of stuff.
With alliances and stuff, the World versus World community could go boom.
Wow.
To be a landmine.
If you would want to, if we feel we've moved on from, we know what's going on with fishes and skiffies, which is apparently, and the jiggles, whatever the mechanic I've just made up in my head, then that's called. We can talk about a post, and I haven't read this yet, so I might just read through bits of it while we're going.
I read a little bottom snippet and I got very excited.
Sorry about the glare, because it's on a white background, and I'm like, oh god damn, why?
Eyeballs!
Oh god. Yeah, Super, it's okay. The footage is gone now. But yeah, and also you can listen as well. Okay, so hi all, micro calendars. This is a blog post that just came out during the show. Micro calendars, the first week-long beta event for World v World. World Restructuring feature takes place from 24th September to the 1st of October. Today we're here to outline development and beta testing plans for World Restructuring and talk about the future of World vs World game mode. Start describing the overall vision of the feature and then describe the functionality of the blah blah blah. Where's the important bit, Criff? Is it down the bottom?
Oh no, the bottom part was about balance.
Oh good lord, there's a lot in there.
You can read this whole thing, Jebro? Maybe we can trade off.
Yeah, we'll take turns.
You want to do that? Okay, all right.
Cool.
I mean, I don't mind if you want to. Pips,
Sure.
Are we okay with this? All right, I'll read the World Restructuring and overview, and then Dig, do you want to tell the phase 1?
Yeah, or we can just go paragraph by paragraph.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's do
paragraph by paragraph.
that. All right, I'll go me, Dig, Boots, Griff. Sound good?
Cool.
Okay. World Restructuring and overview. World Restructuring is a feature that aims to address player population imbalances and create great matches. Ooh. It achieves this by deprecating the current concept of shards, aka world servers, and introducing a matchmaking system to the game mode where players, guilds, and alliances, which are player-managed groups of guilds, are programmatically... I don't think I've ever seen anyone write that word before. Amazing.
Automatically?
Programmatically redistributed. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, well, you did it pretty well. To new teams, previously known as shards, on the set schedule. This gives us more flexibility and granularity, Jesus Christ, when creating new teams and helps address natural fluctuations in population over time. It'll also give players more agency in choosing who they want to play with on an ongoing basis and allows long-standing communities to continue playing together. Ooh.
So this is actually really important what they're saying here.
Okay. Why?
Because they're saying it's programmatically done on the most part. And then on top of that, you have extra things. So you have agency in choosing who you want to play with to make your alliances, it seems. Mm-hmm. But then it's programmatically done afterwards. And it's not hand done like it seems like a lot of the world linking has been in the past.
Yeah. And set schedule so they can change.
Yeah. So and that refers back to, so recently they also said that over the last 2 weeks or something like that, they've been having something run in the background as a beta for their World versus World stuff.
Getting data, yeah.
And I think they've been getting data. And I think this data is what they're going to be using to programmatically redistribute teams every week or every schedule.
And also population, how many people are going in, out, what guilds, apart from maybe players in guilds, I guess.
Yeah, so there you go. Interesting.
Cool. Next one. Anyone wants to go for the next one?
All right. Matchmaking, when teams are destroyed and recreated, occurs at the beginning of each season. The term season in the context of World v World describes the period of time between each matchmaking event. The length of a season is not yet finalized, but could be up to 8 weeks long. Before a season begins, players can select which of their current guilds, and by extension, the alliance, they'd like to play with for that season. Once matchmaking occurs, any changes to a player's selected guild will not take effect until the next season. While the composition of each team is static during a season, you'll be matched up against different opponents each week using the existing one-up, one-down matchup system.
Okay.
I'm glad that sets you into a team for that season and you can't switch.
Yeah,
What
you
if someone
lock
makes
in.
a bunch of accounts to get into guilds and they just queue up and they never participate? That would be rough.
Well, probably the guilds wouldn't ask them to be in it.
Yeah, at least for that season, if there's like some high-end manipulation going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, active World vs. World players that have not selected a World vs. World guild before the end of this, before the start of the season will be automatically match made onto a team. What does it mean by active World vs. World players? Oh wait, here we go. New players or players who are inactive for an extended period of time before the start of the season will not be automatically placed, but will have the option to choose which team they'd like to join.
Interesting.
Teams will be locked or full once they've reached the population cap of the current system.
Interesting. Okay.
Do you want to just
Matchmaking.
Do you want to just read the rest? Because I feel like Criff has been hard done by with the 3 lines.
Matchmaking will initially use factors such as the World vs. World participation and playtime to place players, guilds, and alliances on teams. But we're open to adding additional variables to matchmaking, e.g., time zone, once we've ironed out the initial kinks with the system. So yeah, it sounds like that's exactly what's been going on. The functionality detailed above will be rolled out in multiple phases, each with its own set of beta tests. Okay, so I guess, guys, if you want to right now, make sure that you get match made into a alliance or as tacked onto an alliance if you're not part of a guild that you want to be part of. Before and so that you're match made and you don't have to think about it and you don't have to choose yourself and then have to go to a world that isn't full yet. Play a little bit of World versus World right now just to make sure.
But I wonder how that would be if you want to like play with your friend, if you could just like party up and join in on their map, and then that for that season you'd be stuck with whoever your friend is playing on. Because I don't do a lot of World versus World, but my friend does. It's like I want to play with them.
Yeah.
There is a few things in here that I can see being very problematic, actually. The time zone thing being a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go, sorry.
So, World Restructuring Phase 1. Phase 1 of World Restructuring includes a substantial back-end overhaul of how World vs. World works, but most of this is invisible to the player. On the player-facing side of things, it will feature matchmaking support for ungilded players and guilds. Alliance functionality will come in Phase 2. The goal for this first phase is to ensure that the system works at scale. We'll be keeping a close eye on player population balance, queue times, and victory point disparity.
Okay. On 21st September, a new tab for the World Restructuring feature will become available in the in-game World vs. World menu. Okay. On this tab, you'll be able to choose which of your guilds you'll want to play with during the World Restructuring beta event. Interesting. Please choose your World v World guild before 7 a.m. UTC, which is GMT, peeps, if you know what UTC is. 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, 23rd September. On 24th September, or you may be match made into a team as an individual player. Interesting.
Okay.
If you do World v World, I guess, or not. I don't know. It's like, I like that there's going to be a whole new tab for this. I'm still like, I know there's a population cap, but I'm at the same time, I'm like, what if some teams are just population capped and others just aren't? I mean, I guess that's just the case now anyway. Like, there is no cap, essentially. I mean, there is a cap.
Seems like a lot of things are being done algorithmically. So it'll probably be very unbalanced for the first, I want to say, 3 seasons, and then it'll start to work itself out a little bit, probably.
This is probably a long haul game.
Do you think this is
they've
like...
said that they want to make it more of a game mode that lives for much longer.
I mean, this is a beta as well, right? So they're beta seasons. So rather than saying it, rather than putting the feature in and being like, this is a beta season, like they kind of did last time with like in PvP and stuff, they actually saying this is an actual beta feature and we're testing out this new thing. So I kind of like that they're doing it this way rather than just putting it into the game completely and just leaving it. Okay, interesting. I'll just take the next 3 lines and then someone can take the last one, last bit. So the beta event will begin at World v World Reset on 24th September. World v World bonus experience event will be active between 21st and 1st of October. 100% bonus to World v World experience, 25% bonus to reward trek, and 50% to magic find. Good reason to get people in there as well. So really good idea. So if you want to get those World v World legendary bits and bobs, you want to get your battle, your anything, skins, all the things, loot, gear. That's a good time to do it, right? Okay, Dig, do you want to go? Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Are we at the conclusion?
That's the one.
Yes.
At the conclusion of the beta event on October 1st, the world and world linking system will be re-enabled, and World v World will return to the current state. For example, if you were on Gandara before, you'll be back on Gandara again. Depending on how well the first beta event goes, we may choose to run a few additional tests without significant changes to the feature. Each matchmaking event provides our team with incredibly valuable data for tuning the matchmaking system.
Not much. That's just obvious, I guess. It's gonna go back to the way it's gonna go it was before, and yeah, I guess so.
World Restructuring Phase 2. The next planned addition to World Restructuring will be Alliances functionality. This will allow multiple guilds to group together. Oh, so for the first beta, they're not doing the Alliances part.
No, just the matchmaking.
Got it. Okay, so this will allow multiple guilds to group together for the purposes of matchmaking. Each team can include multiple alliances. Our current plan is to limit alliances to a total of 500 players, the same maximum size of a single guild. So you could be an alliance of just your guild, max.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if that's a good idea. We're trying to strike a balance between allowing existing player communities to be able to stick together while preventing the creation of juggernaut and alliances. I think that's a mistake. This number is flexible and will be finalized based on what we see during the beta events. The timeline for delivering alliance functionality largely depends on how well Phase 1 goes. If we identify a large group of bugs or core system issues, we'll need to focus on solving those first.
I can
Why a
see
mistake?
why they're trying to do this.
I
Because of
definitely see why they're trying to do this.
that Juggernaut Alliance feature, but 500 is like just one guild. But that would also mean your entire guild would need to be very active consistently.
Yeah.
If not, you'd have to just start kicking people.
My understanding is that a full alliance will probably be somewhere around 1,000 people.
I reckon.
So you could have a max of 2 guilds as an alliance, and if you can't allow a guild of 500 people to ally with another guild, then it's kind of weird, you know? Like,
I mean, they're saying
what's the point of
alliances is 500 players.
Yeah.
Hang on.
They
You say
literally said
1,000?
it.
Where'd that 1,000 come from?
I think Boots.
I think
forgot
just
that.
in general for world versus world population, that's how it usually is.
Oh,
Like 1,000 players.
You mean
Well, one
the
thing that
alliances
just
should have 1,000
on the
players.
map maybe,
Yeah,
but not.
that's how it's just a feeling, you know. Like I feel like that's how many people should not on one. No, on one map, I think it's 150.
Oh, you mean across all maps together?
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause there are 4
Okay.
maps that we
Right,
have
right.
to split
Yeah.
players up.
This is saying 500.
yeah, but that's
per-
active
okay.
people, right?
Right. Okay.
So
And this is,
yeah.
but this is the actual physical alliance. But you remember, you have to. This would be, if it was one guild, it would mean that every single player in that 500 player guild would have to opt in and
Yeah.
actually register with that guild on that team, which might just be that guild if all 500 people do sign up. So I think when you sign up, you basically say I'm active as well. Whether or
I
not.
wonder if they're taking data of like how active certain guilds / people are in World versus World,
Yeah.
and are they gonna do it so that some alliances are only like 1,000 people because that's how many people that particular alliance needs to be competitive because they're so active, versus a bunch of people who are inactive but still want to play World versus World, and that alliance is gonna be 6,000 people, you know?
Where are these numbers coming from?
My head?
I think that the 500 number that this paragraph
500,
states, our
yeah.
current plan is to limit alliances to a total of 500 players, is talking about 500 opt-in active people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
got to be some kind of flagging or self-selection mechanism, like similar to what they were talking about with making sure you were where you wanted to be, and blah blah.
Yeah,
That's
they
the
probably
extra
wouldn't
tab.
want
Yeah.
2 of the biggest World versus World guilds just being one unit and crushing everyone else.
This is the difficulty in most RVR and open world guilds, but
Yeah.
people just switch teams, and there's no reason to stop them. There's like, people are just like, because even though people say they like player versus player combat and they like the fights and stuff like that, there's a larger amount of people that just want to zerg and get the rewards and do that kind of play. And that's
so Proof.
Kind of
To answer your question, I think the reason why I was being confusing is because I kept on saying alliances when I said the 1,000 and 6,000 thing, when I meant worlds.
Okay.
Pledge,
I was like,
yeah.
it's only 500.
Yeah, no, it's only 500, but I'm saying that like an alliance is only going to be a small part of a world, I think, right?
Yeah.
In a fight.
What is a world? Sorry, is it one side in the conflict?
Yeah,
Is that
one
what you mean?
side.
Yeah.
One team.
Yeah, so there'll be multiple alliances making up each side. Is what it
That's
sounds
what
like.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So my question is, will some worlds have actually more players in it than other worlds because other worlds are more active than
certain teams? Probably.
Yeah, certain teams.
But I feel like
Well,
that wouldn't really happen at the high end. That would probably only start to happen at the lower middle. Because I feel like high end, they'd all be playing. And like that would be locked in. But it's when you start to get to these lower tiers of just single, like independent players starting to trickle slowly in and fill up a map and fill up teams for that world versus world event to really kick off.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question, and maybe this will get answered lower down, or maybe it did, and I'm just dumb. But if you're in an alliance that is active, but you yourself are not an active World v World player, so you haven't played the game for 6 months, and you log in and go to World v World, what happens to you? Do you get to play with your alliance and just be an additional active member that that counts against that 500
Depends
threshold?
if you signed up.
Or do you go into the individual matchmaking system? It sounds like it's the latter.
You have to sign up.
If you didn't,
first.
if you didn't click the box in the 3 days you get before the season starts to say I'm with this guild, then you're an individual player.
As long as you sign up, you'll be fine, no matter your experience.
Yeah, it's so that you can't just. I think that's the reason why they're doing that is so that people can't just sign up to teams that are just winning as well. Because
And that's
more
why
often
you need
than
multiple.
not,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, it's just more often than not. I think that's one people going to be one way they would see people as being able to grief the system. If they can just join a team anytime, they can just switch, or they can just make a new account, right?
And some alliances are going to be full of like really hard charging people who are playing every single day.
Oh yeah,
World v World diehards, and some are just going to be full of people who are peripherally interested and aren't necessarily going to play all the time. So that's what one of the strengths of the multiple alliance per side approach is. Your success as a side isn't entirely determined on whether you're a casual alliance or whether you're a hardcore alliance, because you can mix and match several alliances on the conflict.
You know what's really interesting? I'm sure a lot of people are, I mean, almost everybody's probably in 5 guilds, but it'd be very interesting to see if like for instance, I'm in Spud and War and Mock, but if Mock and War, for example, wanted to be in alliance together, the fact that I'm in both of the guilds is a detriment to that alliance because it limits. I gotta leave one of the guilds.
You don't have to leave the guild. You just pick a team that you represent.
No. You leave one of the guilds because if they want to be in alliance together, I count towards the cap for both of those guilds.
You have to sign up for the team.
No, you don't.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Because these guilds are separate entities, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're separate entities, and I count towards the max cap of one guild. I am player 500 of 500 for one guild.
Yeah.
And I am player 30 of 35 or 30 of 30 of another guild. And so they can't go together. I'm counting for 2 players for that max cap of 500.
But you're only signing up for one team.
I am, but the guilds want to ally together.
I think you're missing the point that there's an individual opt-in process.
But you're still one
It's not the guild leader opting in for everyone. You individually are opting in for
so long as 500 people do not click that checkbox in that
Really?
guild. If you are like 400 people sign up in one guild, there's still 100 spaces left. But if you're in another guild that is only like 30 members, they can ally together.
So, but then what happens? Okay, so let's say you have 500 people in your guild. No, okay, let's say you have 300 people in your guild, and another guild has 250 people, and everybody in the other guild click that box to say they're part of it. That's a 250 person guild. You want to ally with that? You want to ally with that guild? Great. You want to ally with the guild. What you're saying is that you can ally with that guild if only 250 people clicked yes in your guild, correct?
Well, only if
It
you're
would
only
have
not
to
over
the
500.
500.
Yeah. But then we don't know what works, what happens.
So then what if you ally with that guild because you only 250 people click yes in your guild, but then 3 more people click yes in your guild?
So
They can't,
what you're
though.
saying, Boots, is basically if you have like let's say an alliance of 3 guilds and they each have 400 members, so
Yeah.
1,200 total. What you're doing is you're saying only 500 of those 1,200 players, the first 500 are the ones who are going to be able to get to be in the alliance, and everyone else
I'm
is
saying
SOL.
that you can't make an alliance of 3 guilds with 400 players.
No.
I'm saying that
No.
as soon as you have 400 player guild, you could only ally with a guild that has 100 players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or guilds
Where-
that
did
make
you
up
read that
100
somewhere?
players.
I didn't read that anywhere, but that's the only way I could think of it
Yeah.
working with this thing.
Well, this is the
In that
idea,
instance,
isn't it?
you choose to ally with the more populous guild.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you're at that point, that guild is a dedicated world versus world guild.
Uh-huh.
You worried
That's
about
when
your...
these higher end tiers start to really form. And this is where we start to see the guild versus guild area. It's like this guild has 500 active players. This guild also has 500 active players. They're going at it. That's where this kind of like guild ownership, like this guild pride starts to come into play. Mid tier, you can do a lot of mix matching with alliances and kind of like form an alliance. But at the
Yeah.
top end, that's when you really start getting into that.
It really depends on whether or not you guys are right in that only the people who click I am part of this guild for World versus World are count towards the max of an alliance.
Yeah.
Or if the guild's size counts towards the max
It's
of
the
an
sign up.
alliance.
It's the sign
I don't
up.
think it'll be the size. I think you have to, because you have a
It's
3-day
much more
grace
Guild
period.
Wars. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
It's much more
But then
Guild
you have a
Wars.
3-day
Pretty
period.
sure individuals are the ones opting in,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
leaders.
All right,
It's much more
okay.
Guild Wars.
You're probably you know what, you're probably right,
It
but
says
it's
it.
interesting though because then you have that 3-day period where when do you make that alliance with something? Because it's very possible that more guildmates will opt in afterwards.
I want to see how you form an alliance.
They can't, though.
Like, do
Because
you
they've only
whisper
got
the other
the
guild
day.
leader and go, let's
Well,
ally
yeah,
with
of
each
course.
other?
That's it. I mean, that's community, right? That's essentially, other guilds and other people in other guilds.
Yeah.
And you might have people forming guilds with different people from different worlds. Like, before this actually even happens, you're going to have it. You're going to get people prepping for this because you can obviously join any guild, even if you're on EU. Do you know what I mean? So you might even have people transferring. They'll probably, I would say, well, no, actually, they don't need to transfer. Well, only regions, but they could have people swapping regions to get over to play with their friends, like to get in the alliances. There could be loads of stuff, but like this is what the kind of stuff we used to do back in the day, like Warhammer Online and early days World v World crew. We'd have like Mumble servers and websites where we'd have alliance forums, we'd have like alliance chats. We used to have in Warhammer Online, there would be an alliance chat. You'd select all these different guilds and you'd invite them to it, and you'd have an alliance chat full of these guilds. So they need to bring in, with all these systems, they need to bring in communication systems like an alliance chat, for example, which will be able to like register all the guilds that you're in an alliance, like for that season, and plant everyone in these different chats. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be. There's as long as they do this.
This is the Guild Wars that
Exactly.
Guild Wars 2 needs.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, paying off on that name after all these years. Yeah, and think about like streamer alliances, right?
Oh,
That's gonna happen.
That could be fun. I mean, that's the thing, I mean, that's the thing in other games. Cyrodiil, like, I've seen like streamers going up against each other in Elder Scrolls Online and various other games, yeah.
New World's been really leaning into that with their marketing push.
Oh, yeah, dudes. They really have, right? Marauders versus Covenant versus Syndicate and like all the faces of those guilds, yeah.
Yeah, and these alliances are 5 times bigger than the companies from.
Hopefully they do that, D, because that's a really good point. That was a big thing on Twitter and social media. Marketing campaign was pretty intense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Could be good.
Okay. It might take a while for us to get through this.
Just one last thing, though. I do hope you guys are right about the opting into the alliance for your guild instead of the guild doing it, because that would, if it was the other way around, then guilds that are, we do PVX, we do PvP, we do PvE, world versus world that caters to everybody, would be kind of screwed.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, and you have a bunch of empty alliances.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Shall we continue on?
Yeah, where we going? We got beta development,
Yes,
right?
so much more left to go.
There is a
Oh
lot.
my god.
Yeah.
We're approaching the development of World Restructuring differently than what you've seen from us in the past. Our intention is to release the smallest, functional versions of the feature onto the live servers, beta test it for a limited time, and then use your feedback to improve future iterations of the feature. We'll rinse and repeat until we've landed on a satisfactory implementation, and then polish the feature, removing the beta tag, and fully release it. It's good.
I vote proofread the rest.
Yeah, just do the whole thing, Crew, please.
Awesome.
The reasoning behind this approach is straightforward. World versus World is a complicated game mode that's played in numerous ways. Some players enjoy fights, some enjoy taking objectives, and some enjoy running away from fights. Experiences can even vary wildly between shards. We're looking at you, Maguma. Finding the best solution for population balance that considers these differing playstyles is a challenging proposition and not something that we can do without your input. We need feedback from our players to help narrow in on the right design. We'll be looking at both hard data and the conversation in the community to determine the feature's future. Try saying that 10 times fast.
The future's
This
future.
approach
Future's future.
comes with some trade-offs. For one, the initial implementation of World Restructuring will have a limited feature set. You might immediately identify some features that would be nice to have. That's great. Tell us what you're thinking of why. Tell us what you're thinking and why you want it. This is exactly the reason we're doing this. We want to build the things that our players want and not waste time on things they don't. Any comments? It's all good stuff, all good stuff. The second trade-off is that the front end of the system will be a little rough, using programmer art, as we call it. We're going to hold off on final art and user experience polish until we've locked down the design of the feature. In other words, we're going to focus on making sure the system solves the problem before we make it look nice. That's great, but I like art. We'll be monitoring and participating in dedicated feedback threads on the official Guild Wars 2 forum for each beta event. That's the best place to have your voice heard. Whether you're a solo player, gilded, a guild leader, or a pug commander. We'll also keep you up to date with our latest observations and decisions regarding World Restructuring via regular updates on the Guild Wars 2 blog. Great.
Keep going,
I
Crew.
just say
Do you want
they've
to
increased like the reading level required for these blog posts compared to where they've been in the past.
They said diction. They said a high level diction, the word choice.
Yeah.
That section's good. I much prefer that. I think, just as a blanket statement, I prefer that they do beta situations rather than launching something that people don't enjoy and is bugged. So I like it. Shall we progress to the future?
Yes, please.
Let's.
Looking to the future, World versus World is an experience unlike any other. An epic combination of battles on a massive scale, competition, community, and of course, rivalry. It scratches an itch that many of us have had since the earliest days of Realm versus Realm gameplay in PC gaming. World versus World, as it is today, is good, but it could be great. As we stated in the July 2nd studio update blog, our leadership teams view World versus World as a cornerstone game mode of Guild Wars 2, and we intend to support it as such. And we say this while acknowledging that in the past, World versus World players haven't consistently received the support or attention they deserve. So, let's talk about the future plans and priorities as we know them today, largely informed by your feedback and our own assessment of the mode. These priorities are subject to change as we continue to listen, observe, and learn. If they do change, we'll let you know. Player population balance is a critical component of any competitive game or game mode, and imbalances can have marked negative impact on gameplay to the extent that the experience no longer reflects design intent. As such, World Restructuring is going to remain our top priority until we feel that it's been satisfactorily addressed.
Got it. Yeah.
This will likely remain our focus through the release of Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons. After World Restructuring, we'll be looking to make World versus World more rewarding with a focus on active play. There's two major parts to this. First, we'll be looking at improving individual rewards for participation and performance. This will be a mix of adding new rewards and improving older systems. As an example, we'd like to address how support players are under-rewarded. Skirmish tracks also take longer to progress than we'd like, especially for new players. Second, we want to give players and guilds reasons to care about winning their current matchup and reward them for exceptional performance during a season. Longer term, we'd also like to introduce systems that would allow guilds to flex and compare their world versus world prowess. Ooh, some nice guild versus guild stuff. I like it.
Love it.
Once both population balance and rewards are addressed, our theory is that world versus world gameplay may see a significant shift. Players tend to naturally optimize their gameplay towards the goal, and with that comes new strategy and meta. At that point, we intend to look very hard at core world versus world systems, upgrades, scoring, siege, etc., and balance them to ensure that the world versus world experience is still reflecting our vision. No system is safe from iteration. Everything described above is aimed at addressing foundational issues affecting the world versus world experience. Our priorities beyond this point are highly flexible and will undoubtedly be influenced by the community and the needs of the game mode. Expect more communications just like this one down the road. Before we wrap up this section, we did want to mention that we understand how important profession balance is for world versus world gameplay. To address this, after the expansion releases, we'll be dedicating design resources to overseeing profession balance for the live game and a full-time capacity supporting PvP, this is what I was reading, and world versus world. This will allow us to deliver balance updates on a much more consistent cadence.
That is exciting.
And I guess wrapping up, that's it for today. If you have questions or feedback regarding world restructuring and or our overall priorities for world versus world, please drop us a note on the official forums. ArenaNet staff Raymond DeLukes, lead gameplay engineer, and Josh Grouch Davis, head of live operations, will join ArenaNet partners Mighty Teapot and Roy on September 16th at noon Pacific time on Twitch for a live discussion regarding world restructuring and the future of world versus world. So we'll look to address as many of your questions as we can then. Thank you for reading. We're incredibly excited for the rest of the world restructuring to life, and we're looking forward to building world versus world into the experience that we all know it can be, the Guild Wars 2 team.
That's great. Roy knows almost everything there is to do about world versus world. That's going to be a good discussion, I think.
Yeah, real good.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, that's true. It's good times.
This is extremely substantial.
But you know what my takeaway from this is? Get all of your AFK pip farming in World vs. World done before before the full thing comes out when they do a reformatting of the rewards. Because right now, yeah, it's incentivizing not actually playing that much and just waiting out your rewards. But apparently, they're going to change that.
I think there's an important point here about. Oh God, there it is. Halfway down looking to the future section, at the end of the fourth paragraph, this will likely remain our focus through the release of Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons. What do you think of the success of the work on World v World and when it needs to land? You know, I think one of the obvious big moment for most new players to re-engage with new players to try or old players to re-engage with the game is the End of Dragons.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking that as brutal of a timeline as it is, the more that this can be finished by the time End of Dragons rolls around, the more likely it is to have success.
Doesn't it need to happen before though?
Yeah, it should happen just before at least, because people are going to be very preoccupied during End of Dragons, too preoccupied to play.
Oh yeah,
right. But they're going to get through the story and they're going to say, "What's next?" And if World v World is not the answer because the kind of fleshed out version of alliances and everything that's going into it isn't there until the summer or until the fall or whatever timeline is actually needed to get to the point where it's polished and accessible, I think it's unfortunately not as well timed as it could have been.
I mean, is that the case? I mean, I think I feel like they're trying to get this sorted by the end of the year, or at least mostly kind of in place to be kind of brought in by January, February. I feel like as long as they do that.
This year.
They did say that,
could have just been referential to the betas. But I feel like they should have been explicitly betas will be coming
maybe they just can't be that explicit with the exact dates because they're still not really sure. Because this is just a massive like throw things in the air and see where they land kind of thing, because that's basically what it is, right? Like they've not had any feedback from us on this system at all. They don't know if it's going to technically work. I mean, they can only like, they can't physically test this until they've got us in there. I mean, they can test it in terms of, you know, their parameters and everything that they use to do that, putting bots into places and doing the things. But until players get
just
in there.
based on the fact that they're saying seasons could be up to 8 weeks long, and they don't even know if that's the case yet. That's another thing they're beta testing. And if they're beta testing something that's 8 weeks long, that means 2 months from now will be just one test. So yeah, I see the timeline being a little bit longer than being done before End of Dragons comes out, and that's just for the world restructuring betas, and I think and alliance betas. So I think the reward betas might be coming after End of Dragon comes out for sure. So yeah, you're right, Dig. It is a little bit late than what they should have tried to do, but we are where we are.
I don't think it'll be too gutting, considering that End of Dragons is going to probably launch later, February 2022, and it will allow players to play all the new expansion content from the story to the collecting and, you know, doing the collections and acquisition of elite specializations. Maybe even try some strike missions, but I hope it's not like 5 months after End of Dragons launches. I hope it's like 2 or 3 months after End of Dragons launches.
Yeah.
Because then it would also allow, if there is a lull in the PvE aspect, it would allow those people to be like, oh, there's a now more guild support in the method of competitive play. And, you know, it does kind of feel, it is competitive, but you at least get to use a lot of like your runes, your own character's progression and stuff. And it's a larger community aspect. So maybe that could be okay timing.
But honestly, if the betas are continuing while End of Dragons is being released, that is in itself a kind of incentive to play World versus World as well. As long as the betas aren't like jarring enough to make you get turned off of World versus World. But yeah, I guess it could be fine as well.
I assume that all the rewards you get during these betas are they're final on your account. They're not going to be.
That's a good point, actually. There must be, right? Because they've got the World v World boosts and stuff. Yeah, because this isn't like gameplay. I mean, it's gameplay specific, but like, I mean, as long as like people don't take advantage of the system somewhere and there's not like giant alliances and there's just, and it goes wrong. Like, I mean, I can't see that. Yeah, it must be. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I love the big thing here is like the thing I'm majorly excited about is the balance stuff.
Yeah. Oh my god, I read that before, and then I was like, oh, I read something exciting. Like a dedicated live team to focus on balance of all 3 game modes independently. They didn't just say balance
patch every day.
Balance. I would love that, but if we got a balance patch every month, that would be incredible, at least for some time. Probably, like that would be lovely, especially because of the elite specializations. I think that is just needed as well. So we don't run into a Path of Fire situation where you just default to playing Scourge and Firebrand. Oh wait, we're still in that meta. So, but it would be lovely to see more balance.
It's the main problem of the game. It just is. I'm sorry. I'm excited. Like, balance is a major deal. Like, it just really is. Like, not only for World versus World, not only for PvP, but to remove stupid builds that have been in the game for way too flipping long that just need to go away. And like, but the thing is like with regular balance, you can have that meta for a while. With regular balance, and this is the case with competitive games, this is the case with really well-balanced PvE games, you can have a ridiculous build that's strong as long as it's pulled out every so often and put back in. You can't have that where it's been a year or two of just like, you know, Scourge being a main puller of like main like support build for like all 3 modes in different ways. It's just
shotting me for a year now. I want something different. Lich Form hurts.
Oh, that's it. I mean, it's just like, you know, different things. Deke, sorry.
I gotta sprinkle a little salt on this, and I'm sorry. to do this,
No, you can do that.
But saying that you're forming a team to do something is like saying you're forming a committee to take action. It's cheap, it's easy to say, and we have heard a lot of announcements over the years about teams being formed to do
Yeah.
different things, and then after a year or two, those teams go away.
Yeah, isn't it
So
true? Didn't we have a balanced team for a while?
It's just the systems team. They just rebranded their name.
They've rebranded their
Yeah.
name. We
They're
need
also
to.
responsible for
we had a
balance.
raid team, and we had this and that.
Yeah.
I agree with everything all of y'all just said about how critical it is, but
Mhm.
this is a very easy thing to promise,
Damn
and
it,
it might not
Deeg.
be.
Why do you gotta be a realist?
No, I mean, I don't think. Well, I think
Griff is now remembering all the times where we're like,
I am
Yeah.
thinking.
This
I
could
do.
be,
I
it could be the kind of thing where we see a lot of activity, like when over the first 6
That's right.
months or year when End of Dragons comes out, and then eventually the priority will shift, and there'll
Well,
be a
that's
new most important fire to put out, and these people will be redistributed, and we won't be told anything about a team going away.
But I think
I mean,
that's totally fine. And I think that's kind of, I would much rather have a dedicated team for the first 6 months of End of Dragons, focusing on balance and the upkeep of the game's health, rather than back in Path of Fire, not have any balance patches for some time. And even when those balance patches did come, they didn't hit the core issues that were affecting the game. But I think ultimately, after a certain amount of time, I would want them to actually move on and start working on another batch of elite specializations to focus themselves on the next expansion. And I think that's only just natural with any MMO, but having a dedication at the beginning, at least confirmation that they will be attempting this, I think is much more positive than any other thing that they've showed with any other expansions.
sure.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Deeg. You know, I mean, especially because I've been there specifically on a live broadcast for ArenaNet, and I've had to commentate Chronomancer versus Chronomancer on a midpoint versus while the rest of the game is decided, and you're like, well, this is kind of where we are right now. And then you're like, this is the pro league where there are tens of thousands of dollars up for grabs. And
What was it again for that? Like the final match of this pro league was
It all got
0-0 up to like minute 7.
No, I think that was. I don't think it was the final. I think it was like towards the stages that it got sorted middle, kind of towards the late stages, or maybe it was the whole. Maybe it was. Maybe I need to remember because like I just completely. The season 1 when they had the finals was good, but leading up to it is very difficult. Like they say that, you know, a lot of the lack of balance killed a lot of early hype for Pro League, and I could say that that's probably, you know, not an unfair statement. I think there's a lot more that goes into it than that, but there was a lot riding on like firm, fast, effective, and brutal balance that needed to happen, and it didn't happen then. That is my concern, and I think Deeg brings up that good point. Like, why now?
In order to solve those problems in a timely fashion, when there's a critical moment, you have to have people who that team has to have been in place for 6 months to a year already and be ready to solve the problem. You can't form the team responsively to that kind of a thing. So that's why I say making a team is a nice. When we hear that as a community, we think we think of this as an indefinite change to the way that the game is made, but we shouldn't.
No, this is only temp. I can't imagine this being a permanent
Should be.
situation. It would be, and I think having a dedication
Should be.
at the beginning is great. But if we go back after some time to the more regular cycles of having a balance patch every 3-4 months, something to what we've expected, not even that, like 5-6 months, I think that's inevitable. But so long as you get and you tackle those core issues at the beginning, which I think also these elite specialization betas are helping with, that's important as well.
Yeah.
So I think they do. I don't know what they think, but I hope that everything that we've seen from these betas and also this confirmation that they will be focusing at least after the release, I hope that we do see much more improvements on the balancing end. But
Yeah,
not just
I
for
also hope that.
not just for
Hopefully.
these elite specs. They need to hit those other like core elite specs like Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire still, and they haven't done
Frankly,
that.
they should be doing that before the expansion releases, but
Yeah, hopefully we see those before.
Do y'all remember like the kind of narrative about moving on from Guild Wars 1 about how that arena had developed itself into a corner by establishing these campaigns, or each campaign you had to give a whole bunch of new skills and there was so much duplication, and they created this skill system that was so complicated that balance was impossible. Iteration was very difficult. How many elite specs does a Guild Wars 2 have before it starts getting to a point of being like, we've created a monster we can no longer wrangle? Is it already there? Are we approaching it? What do y'all think?
Well, I think by looking at it as a monster defeats any notion of hope. It's not necessarily just a monster.
Monsters in the eye of the beholder?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are very scared of, or I think rightfully so though. I'm kind of 50-50 on this because I am pretty conservative when it comes to the skill design and the pace of the game. I think there has been a lot of power creep over the years. That is unfortunate. But I think adding skills isn't the problem. It's what those skills are. So having skills that give you quickness and alacrity and are an instacast and they break a stun. Those types
Right.
of skills, that is the monster itself, not just the overall specialization.
yeah, I wouldn't say that any new elite specialization, like if they added these 9 new elite specializations and then the next day added another new 9 set of elite specializations, I don't think it's a monster that they can't tackle. I think the issue is when they go back and make changes to core specializations and like fundamental changes to classes in that way that affect all elite specializations in the past. So that could create some problems because once you've made an elite specialization that works off of core skills and you've balanced it properly, then it's a known quantity, right? Like you don't have to think about it anymore. And you make a new elite specialization. When you make a new elite specialization, you do the same thing. You base it off of your core specs and what your class is capable of doing, and try to balance it properly. And at that point, it should be a known quantity. But when you go back and make new balance changes that affect that core known quantity, then it could become kind of insane because it'll change all the elite specializations that have come before it as well.
The core
Hopefully
stuff
they don't
is
have to
good.
do that.
The core stuff is really good because nowadays, like the big argument about elite specializations and then just remaining powerful is like the fact that they never went back and did core stuff, and the fact they did go back and do core, but it, like, you know, there's a lot of core builds in the game right now that are very good and very strong, like core necro. Even people say that's too strong, but I would disagree. Core bunker guardian, big. Massive support build in PvP right now. It's so fun like that it's back, and I'm loving that that's back. You know, even like Tempest now, and like there's Heart Forms builds that are still being played, and there's like Path of Fire. It's such a mix. It's really, really good. The problem is, the only problem that there has ever been, and there ever will be, with elite specializations, with past specs, it's simple. Balance. Balance has always been the issue, and that covers Cruise point, that covers your point boost, it covers all our points, you know, because it's like about bringing the things out, and then when they're out, looking at them and saying, this is broken, man. This is just straight up bad for the game. Let's take it out and redesign it. Let's get something, tell people that that's something we're going to do, rather than leave this thing in the game, not talk about it, and then just adjust it a little tiny bit over time, because it's not good. It's really like, and this is where I really will just get on my soapbox about it's not good enough to just shave things off from time to time, because sometimes you just need to say we need to squash this now because it's just wrecking the game.
Like
General,
like doing that, so it all comes back to balance again. Doing that can create unknown new problems that you don't know about yet.
That's why you need those.
So one of the
bans
things is that the reason why, for example, Scourge and Necromancers in general right now are a bit overtuned is because of the balance patch that they made to PvP in core in general, which was reducing the damage overall, making your CC not do damage anymore. When they did that, and they didn't, and they also undertuned, they tuned down healing as well at the same time. But they didn't tune down life force generation and life force in general. So that's why Necros right now got a bit of a bump, let's say. And so when you make changes to the core functionality of the game, it'll have unintended consequences for your elite specs. But if you make a new elite spec based on things that you already know should exist and should remain constant, it shouldn't be a big issue.
It just needs to be looked like they just need to have consistent watches over this kind of stuff going on.
We're now in this scenario where those existing elite spec problems were never addressed. And even if they were, or like even core fundamental changes similar to the PvP stuff, that has now empowered things like Reaper and Scourge. So you also have to be active to touch on those things. They don't necessarily have to be sweeping redesigns, but you have to kind of acknowledge it and say, okay, Reaper, you're going a little nuts right now. Scourge, what's wrong? And then start to adjust accordingly. And it really, thankfully, hasn't necessarily been every profession. It's only been these outliers.
There's a lot of professions that have problems. I mean, Reaper isn't as bad as some of the other stuff. Scourge is the worst at the moment. Scourge is 100% awful. That thing just needs to be straight out removed.
I got my salt shaker stuff. Again.
Go on. This isn't a balanced stream, unfortunately.
I know. But this will maybe seal it up and give us the transition point, Jebra. Let me know what you think.
Cool. Probably need it.
I read a great article recently about that reflects a reality that I think a lot of us who show up on things like podcasts tend to forget. That 80% of the players who play a game never look outside the game for anything.
Yeah. Probably more than that.
Of the people who do, of that 20% who actually look outside the game, only a quarter of those actually say what they think. So balance problems, I think, are great fodder for a dedicated few, but how much effect do they actually have on the people who are just playing the game?
I often do wonder about that. Content. About that. So true. Like, how much do people really care? Like, as long as they can press the buttons. And I think Guild Wars 2 specifically, like, it's really like the more competitive people probably as well. I would like to hope that people think about these kinds of things, but I legitimately, like, how many maybe people in chat? We've got 96 people in chat. How many people really genuinely care about balance, and who cares more about like their abilities and how fun it is to just play the thing? And like, but do you need to feel like you're doing a ton of damage? Like, is it like, because I don't know, because personally I've just always known balance and always thought about balance, especially being a PvP player. Like, balance is such an indicative important thing, and I think that's important for like raiders or
I would say
it depends on how interested you are in group content. If you're not playing group content, who cares?
It's true.
And how many people actually engage with group content in Guild Wars 2?
That's a good question.
I mean, if they jump there, and because the open world stuff is technically group, but it's not like it's not group.
Well, I can tell you one thing: 100% of people are going to start engaging in group
content
once those skiffs and fishing come out.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
let's go.
I mean, just for a second, just got on my little salt train for a minute. It was so. I do apologize if it sounded like I was being negative, because I just love the game. If we talk about the game things we like all the time, we can't put in some. They know how I feel about balance. I think everyone knows how we feel about balance. But like, at the end of the day, still love the game, and that's the important thing. And the skiffs and the fishing, yes, thank you, Boots. And the also pulling of the chain from League, or the pulling of the whatever that is. I don't know what it's called.
They have on trains.
Yeah, what? I don't
chain
know.
horn.
Chain horn. There we go. That's what it's called. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there are definitely other devs who do well, but that again, like, you compare it to other games, they're more specifically focused on one mode and one thing. I think with Guild Wars 2 generally, and I think this is where I can start to bring the podcast to a bit of a close, is that Guild Wars 2 has technically got 3 modes which are very successful in different ways. Even though World v World hasn't had the love that it's had or needed for a long time, it still has so many people playing it. There are still queues at nighttime, Pacific, like even Pacific, like 8 o'clock, which is like Eastern, 11, there's still queues on servers at times. And I'm in like a lower server as well, like a lower matchup. There's PvP is still pretty good to the point where, you still get during the monthly automated tournaments, like 20 plus teams on NA and probably more on EU. There's a lot of people engaging in content. There's a lot of people still running around the world. No matter what map you go to, there's metas being run, there's world bosses being played, there's still stuff going on. There's people featuring a lot of raid content on Twitch. That's a lot of the content you see on Twitch specifically. All right, not many people play it, but a lot of people are showcasing it. But like, there's still like, there's so many different modes and so many things to think about in terms of balance. That's very, very difficult and very, very hard. And I think that's I think it's a compliment to the arena that so many people still play so many different modes in the game specifically, which is good. It makes their job harder though, because then they have to focus on everything at the same time and think about how each thing affects each thing and how they separate each of the different classes and specializations and what should be strong and where it should be strong. So hopefully with that team, that will be awesome. But is there anything else anyone wanted to add about fishing and skiffs before we kind of do our outros and head off, or anything about today maybe? Or the elite specialization, anything else? Because I think people need to kind of have dinner.
I'm just saying, if it's a thief with a fan, y'all are going to eat your words.
Yeah.
I think it is a thief with a
Alright.
fan.
I think it's a thief with a focus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fan.
Okay, well, there we go. That is the LightBringers episode kind of 23, because I'm gonna make like 3 different videos out of this. Yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming on. I hope everyone enjoyed it in the chat as well, and here live on Twitch, as well as watching the VOD on YouTube. And on Anchor.fm and other things like Spotify, iTunes, your favorite podcasts thing. Proof did, apparently. So much. Proof, you can start with you since you gasped very loudly. Where do we find all you and all your bits and bobs? Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kroof. I do a lot of YouTube stuff. And sometimes, very often actually, get invited to come talk on this podcast. But yeah, I do a lot of YouTube. I do some streaming Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I might be doing a little bit more of that on Twitch. But yeah, I mostly love having a good old Mimi time and talking about Guild Wars 2. Love intense discussions. But thank you for inviting me once again, Jebro. Lovely talking to you, Boots and Teague. Good times.
Awesome. Good stuff indeed. Thank you very much, Crew, for joining us again. Boots, tell us what you do, where you do it.
Hi, I'm Boots. You could find me at World Avengers on YouTube or on Twitter. And I am making legendaries right now because I need to prepare for End of Dragons to do my new builds. And the other hosts of this podcast all told me to tell everybody in chat to send me all your gold. So that I can make those legendaries faster. Thank you very much. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much for being here again, Boots. A pleasure. And then we have, last but not least, first time on the LightBringers podcast, it's Deeg. Deeg Thoughts. Tell us where we can find you and all of the things, my friend.
That's right. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Deeg Thoughts. I'm a podcaster. I'll be interviewing the composer for Guild Wars 2, McLean Deemer, on my stream next week.
Ooh, that's big. Love it.
So come check that out. If you have great questions for him, please send them to me so I can ask them. That would be great. September 16th. Come check it out.
Damn.
And much more to come.
Yeah, go to Deeg's YouTube channel. He's interviewed me as well, so you can find out more stuff about me if you want. They're good. They're in-depth conversations. They're very awesome. Okay, other than that, I am Jebro, twitch.tv/JebroUnity on the YouTubes, the Twitch, the Twitter, the Instagram, and the TikTok, and all the things. I've been chucking out tons of reels and stuff recently, and it's been fun to see what you all engage in and what you find hilarious. Apparently me getting crap scared is something that people like to watch, so that's funny. Anyway, go and check out this. If you want to support the podcast, there's a link on the Anchor.fm site. Otherwise, There is links for everyone in the description below, as well as some information elsewhere in the description as well, where you can follow people and go and check out their stuff. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching the Lightbringers episode 23. Fishing, skiffs, all the things. Elite specialization information is going to be separate to this. So if you want to go and listen to that and watch that, go and check that out. World v World, alliances, so many things. Thank you very much for watching and listening to the Lightbringers. We will see you next time.